Howdy there folks, Quinn of Snazzy Labs, and I thought that it was finally time to do an office tour. For the last year, since I've gotten back from Bolivia, people have been asking, we want to see your office, we want to see the studio, where does all this not so magic happen? And I thought it was finally time to show you, and we're excited to show you what we have in store. And so without further ado, let's begin the 2015 office tour. So one of the reasons I really like our setup is because we have some really awesome equipment, but most of what we shoot with is not that expensive in relative terms. We shoot with a rather budget-oriented equipment and we still get rather decent results. And so I'd like to show these pieces to you, starting off with this, which is the magnificent Sigma 18 to 35mm f1.8 lens. What this means is that this is a babe magnet inside of a little metal chassis with some glass inside. This is an incredible lens because, like I mentioned, it goes down to an effective aperture of f1.8, which is buku nuts. I mean, that is a crazy shallow depth of field. And for a relatively inexpensive cost, this thing runs $750, which is really reasonably priced. It may sound expensive, but for a lens like this, it is not. To put things into perspective how good this is, my good friend Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD, we all know him, he shoots with a very expensive red camera, but does most of his shots with this little Sigma lens that costs $750. That's because this thing is magic. And one of the things that makes it even cooler in our setup is that we use what's called the Meadowbone Speed Booster. So this is a Canon EF mount, and I use a Panasonic GH4 Micro Four Thirds camera, so these don't fit together. Not to mention that this is a full frame sensor lens, and the GH4 has a partial, or not a full frame sensor, it's a half frame. So without getting too technical, what this little guy does is it adapts to match my camera. But not only does it adapt, it also has glass in and of itself. So this thing adds an effective full aperture stop, which is impressive because this takes this lens from f1.8 down to f1.2. So I can get such shallow depth of field, you'd poop your pants. Not really, but it is very, very impressive for the $1,300 total that these two little pieces of kit cost. So they're very, very cool lens, the Sigma 18 to 35mm. If you're interested in this lens, and you should be because it's amazing, I've left it in the video description below. Moving on, this is an FNV Z96. It is a very bright LED light that we don't use all that often, to be honest, but it is pretty handy when we're doing field shoots. We'll put it on top of the camera and use it as a spotlight, and it is very, very bright. Not to mention with these batteries that are kind of big, it'll run for literally hours, and so that's pretty dang nice. Moving on, we have an iPad mini, which is my iPad. It's the only iPad I own now, and we only use it here in the office. That goes to show that I just don't use the iPad. I really don't. We use it as a teleprompter, and it's a dang good one. There is a very cool application called Teleprompt Plus that allows me to use this little Bluetooth foot pedal. Now, the reason this Bluetooth foot pedal is cool is it allows me to pause and skip forward and slow down and speed up my script without having to touch the iPad itself. And so this is built for musicians. It's called the AirTurn, but you can use it for a myriad of different applications on iPhone, my teleprompting app being one of them. Obviously, this video is not teleprompted. As you can see, I have a little more ums and uhs and likes and informalities. And a lot of people have asked, well, why have you moved to a scripted video? We liked when you just BS'd for 11 minutes. I know a lot of people liked it, but most don't. I get repetitive and I talk about stuff forever. This video's length is evidence of that. And so I decided that a scripted video would be better, and a lot of people haven't even noticed that I'm reading off a teleprompter because it's still pretty informal and fun. But it allows me to make videos a lot shorter, and I'm already rambling, so let's go on. I've got this massive 1 GB SD card. I don't really even know why we have this here. We've never used it. It's not 2008 anymore, people. And this is the Canova controller for the Canova slider / tilt / pan system. So this is one of the most, this actually is the most expensive, I guess other than the computer, piece of kit we own in the office, and it is not cheap, but it is freaking amazing because it allows us to do 360 degrees of motion with a computer, basically. Perfect motors that are way better than the human hand. So rather than having to tilt tripods or do hand pans, this does everything automatically. We tell it what to do and it does it, or we can do stuff real time. Slide, pan, tilt, this thing is awesome. It's from a company called Canova. A lot of people ask me about sliders. We have the Canova K7, which is dumb. It's expensive, and the reason I bought it is because it allows for future upgradability like cinema camera use. But for 99% of people, the Canova K2 is an awesome slider, and it costs like $180 to $200. It's a little bit more than the ones you get on Amazon, but it is way better. So definitely check that out. We have cable for that. Batteries down here. Batteries are the invention of Satan, I'll tell you. Here's the thing, technology is really amazing, processors have gotten great, cameras are really incredible, batteries still suck. They're really the biggest limitation of any technology. Think of it, smartphone, limitation's the battery. The Teslas are amazing, I want one, but the limitation is still the battery. And that's what it is universally. And so we have a myriad of batteries down here for our microphones, for our recorders, for the LCD screen that Matt is using to film this video, which is displayed here on screen. It's from a company called iCan. Works pretty good and it's cheap. And for my camera, batteries everywhere. And so we have a myriad of batteries down below. And last but certainly not least, in the camera section, other than all the crap that's down here in this drawer. Oh, and this, which is the Tilta hand rig system that I took to CES. I did a video on it. Most of you have seen it, and Matt is actually using it right now to film this video. Good job, Matt. Here we go. This is it. So I have to be careful because I'm actually using this as I speak. And this is the Sennheiser wireless microphone system. It's called the EW100G3. Really easy name. Great model number. Sennheiser was nice enough to send this to us, and it is a little expensive, but we're probably going to need to buy them because ever since a couple weeks ago, our audio game stepped up big time is a result of this lav mic and of course these wireless transceivers, which are the bomb diggity. Sennheiser released new models of this a couple weeks ago. My friend Larry Greenberg made a video on them. Excuse me, not Larry Greenberg, Larry Dickerson, Geeky Nerd Dad. And it was great. Go check out his video. I may have to switch these out for the new ones because they're much sexier and newer and have rechargeable batteries rather than AA's. These are old. They're outdated already, but very, very good regardless. And I'll have a review on these in the next couple weeks. And then this, of course, to end our little camera setup over here, is the Zoom H6. A lot of people ask me, why not just plug the wireless receiver or your microphone into your camera? And you can do this, but the problem is, especially when you're using really nice microphones, is that onboard cameras do not have very good onboard audio capture cards. So when you have a really nice microphone and you plug it directly into your camera, it usually doesn't sound that good. And that's evident in most of the videos that you've heard probably on YouTube with nice microphones plugged into a phone or a camera sound card. So what I use is an external recorder. Now this is one of the nicer ones. It's called the Zoom H6, but you can get the same thing from Zoom in the H4n and the H5 variant that are a couple $100 less. But not only do you get a really cool recorder that has a microphone attached to it if you'd like, but it also accepts up to 4 XLR inputs. So, and this is cool, I can plug in instruments, I can plug in microphones. If I need 48 volt phantom power, I can do that as well. And not only can I record to here, all the stuff you've heard from my turntable in the last couple of videos have been from this. Not only can you plug this and record from here, but you can also use this as an audio interface via USB. So if you're using GarageBand or whatever and you need MIDI support or you need to plug in a guitar to GarageBand, you can do that all through here. And it does a really, really excellent job. This one's a little pricey. I think it's about $300 to $400, but there are variants from Zoom, namely the H4n and the H5 that are significantly cheaper and do essentially the same thing. Just less inputs. So that's all from the camera section. Let's go over to the couch so we can see the set, which you've already seen, but nothing like this before. Okay, so here we are on the actual set, and I wanted to give you an idea of how it's a little bit more deceiving than you think. It looks like there's a lot of space, but there really isn't. And that's part of why we designed the set like this. So it looks spacious and cozy and tons of room, but it's not. It's a relatively cramped space. We're here in a pretty small room, but this is where we do all of our recording. The couch looks really, really silly because I'm a rather tall fellow at 6'4", but it works. Here I have the teleprompter, which you can see is working hard at work. It's a cheap one. It was on Amazon, like 150 bucks. The truth is, it's not that great, but it was only 150 bucks. There are alternative options that are much better, but they start at around 600 bucks, which It's just too expensive. So this works all the same, does just as good. It's a little bit more of a pain to set up and weight issues come into play, but for 130 bucks, you can't really complain. It's a little homemade, but it works and it works well. The tripod, however, is on its way out. This thing is like jiggly as all jiggles can be, and we need to ditch this tripod fast because every time we put it on there, I'm just like, it's gonna break and everything is gonna get destroyed. But I haven't gotten around to buying one yet. So there hasn't been an Amazon Flash deal yet, so that's why I haven't gotten it. But this is the set. This is where all the videos are filmed. I usually have the teleprompter set on the opposite side, so I'm reading it from the couch. Obviously, the camera is directly behind the teleprompter when it happens, so you can kind of, I can look into the lens while I'm reading. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Let's go to the next area. This is my office chair. It has chair-like properties in that it helps me sit. That's about it. It's not a fancy chair. A lot of YouTubers have multi-million dollar, not really, but multi-thousand-dollar chairs. And they say they're like the best purchase they've ever made. I just can't convince myself to spend money on a chair when I could buy something way more fun and cool. I get that my back won't hurt, but I'm young, I got years to live. Who cares if I got a little back pain, right? I don't know. Anyway, this is the 3rd generation iPod, which I did a retro review on a very long time ago. It is one of my favorite, it is my favorite iPod actually, because it's all capacitive. This was released clear back in 2003, but all of the buttons, the scroll wheel, everything is 100% capacitive. There's no physical clicking button, which although from a usability standpoint isn't quite as handy, it was really cool tech for that time and it just was beautiful. It had backlights, all of these lit up orange. It was really, really cool. I loved this iPod like with all my life. This is an iPod that's a little more recent. This one we bought when it was brand new, like way back in 2003. This thing is made at 12 years without any problem. This one is older. This is a 2nd generation iPod. It was released in early 2002. This is a whopping 10 gigabytes, which was the fancy model. The difference between this and the 1st generation, there were 2. This one supported Windows functionality, which the first iPod did not. And this was the iPod that really started the trend, although this one was kind of the game changer that eventually led into the iPod 4G with the click wheel that we all knew and loved, and the U2 edition, and the video iPod that eventually followed. So that was kind of the last, this was the last experimental iPod, I should say, before they stuck with the click wheel and the very standardized interface. Both of these featured hard drives, and they both lasted for a few hours worth of video playback. Excuse me, audio playback, no video. This thing was great. The only other difference between the 1st generation was that this was an actual scrolling wheel on the 1st generation iPod, and on this one it's just capacitive. But other than that, there are buttons on each quadrant of the wheel, and then of course the button in the center is a physical button. The other difference between this was the headphone jack was in the very center of the device, which was a little odd, and it also had FireWire 400 support. So if you planned on using your little iPod via USB, you were SOL, or as we say, in trouble. Okay, that didn't make any sense, just forget I said that. This is the QuickTake 200. This was one of Apple's very, very failed, weird products that they released back in their transition between CEOs. I don't remember if this was a product of Gil Amelio. I don't think it was. I don't remember. This was 94 or 95. So anyway, it doesn't matter. This was a really weird product. It was just a rebranded Fujifilm camera that Apple sold. It was one of the first digital cameras to the market for consumers, but it was very expensive and the picture quality was far worse than what you could get with film, which was really rather excellent. So it was a terrible product, never really sold that well. I did a retro review on this a long time ago, but if you want me to revisit it, like by getting a memory card and trying to edit the images on an old Mac, let me know and I can try that. Just put that in the video description below if that's something you're interested in. We've talked about that. We've got this monitor. This is the Asus PB81Q or something like that. I don't know, it's in the video description. I like this monitor. It was about $500 when I bought it. It's a lot cheaper now. It is UHD, not true 4K, but it's UHD. So it's a nice resolution. I think it's 3860 by 1440, I want to say. Yeah, it's 1440p rather than 2160p, which is true 4K. So this is UHD. And it works. I want to get a nicer display, one of the curved LG 21:9 displays that are super sexy. But this is what I have for now, and it works fine. This is the infamous Logitech, shoot, what's the model number? It is the 901. I don't know, in the video description. Doesn't matter. It's a great little 1080p camera that's one of the few that Apple actually plays nice with. I don't know why, but most webcams on Macs suck that are specifically designed for Windows. This one has Mac functionality, and it's very, very nice. There's like a ring light to illuminate your face if you're in the dark, whatever, it's fine. And if we go around back here, you can kind of see that I have my Mac Pro in action. So this is the machine, the madman behind all our work. It's just the regular 6-core machine. It's not like super amazing or anything. It's just the stock configuration with a 256 gigabyte internal storage. I'm split on this. I'm gonna keep it just because it cost me, $4 grand, and principally, I don't want to have to sell it at probably more than $1,500 loss. Like, that sucks. But my dream computer as of right now is an iMac 5K, because they're really, really great. They're super powerful, so you can do video editing on them, which is fantastic. And 5K monitor, which nobody else is making except for Dell, and theirs costs as much as the iMac built with a computer inside. So that's the other problem. And then if and when Apple does release an Apple Cinema display in 5K, it won't have functionality with my Mac because the Thunderbolt in this machine is not fast enough to support a full 4K resolution drive, which really sucks. So anyway, I was probably just stay with this for at least a couple more years. And what can you do? These are my Event 2020 BAS Studio monitors. A lot of people have asked, Quinn, why are they tilted like this? And it's because there's no space in here. It is not ideal placement. These sound really, really fantastic the way they are, but this is not at all ideal placement. They're way too close to the wall. They are tilted on their side, so it's not really a very good setup in terms of sound quality. They sound fantastic still, but they don't sound like, holy crap, these are amazing, which are what these sound like when they're set up properly. So I'm gonna go through in the next couple weeks and try to reset these up better. And the reason they're kind of funky is because this desk is not very compliant with the space restrictions we have in the office. It takes up 2 corners, and since these monitor stands are in the way, there's like a full foot from the back of the desk to the wall. It's just not ideal. It's a really nice desk, which is the reason I don't want to trash it, because it's a really nice desk. It's expensive, but it doesn't match what we're doing here, so I'll have to find out another solution. This is my keyboard. Matt, if you want to come up here, you can take a check. This is the DOS Ultimate 4 keyboard. It's a little dusty, but you get the idea. It has no letters or no markings on it. This is a Windows designed keyboard, but the reason I like it is because since there's no markings on it, the Windows key and all that other stuff is gone, so I can reprogram, and I've remapped the the Windows key to be the command key, all the other stuff that is standardized on the Mac, and it's performed magnificently. I don't love, honestly, this is my opinion, I own the DOS Ultimate 3 and the DOS Ultimate 4. I like the 3 better than the 4. The 4 looks way nicer. It has aluminum trim instead of the cheap glossy plastic that sucked about the DOS 3, but the switches are not as tactile nor haptic as they used to be, and I have the same color. I think they're MX browns, if I'm not mistaken. They may be blues. No, I'm pretty sure they're browns. Maybe they're reds. I don't know. Doesn't matter. They're the clicky. Hear that? They're the clicky kind. So anyway, that's the keyboard. This is the Logitech Mx Master, which I've talked about before. This thing is pissing me off lately because Logitech has not updated their drivers in a long time. And most of the YouTubers that started using this have ditched it. All my buddies have. The only 2 that have stuck it out are Mike Kukielka, the Detroit Borg, and myself, because, there's something about this mouse that I really like this mouse. I just wish it worked better. It does work better with the USB transmitter, which I think Lou, Unbox Therapy, is using rather than Bluetooth. Mike and I are still using Bluetooth, and there's problems with it, but whatever. It works fine enough, just not as good as it should for the price. These are little Bolivian coasters that I got. I got my salt lamps. This is TLD Today's fault. John is a very convincing man, and I have a sickness. Every time he recommends something, I usually buy it. So these little salt lamps, they're warm and they're filled with salt and they provide light. What else is there to know about them? This is the Canary home security camera, which there are a lot of these home security cameras, right? There's the drop cam, there is the Withings Home. There are like a myriad of options when it comes to these little cameras. And all of them are decent, but none of them are great. And the Canary, I feel, is the closest one to being great. It's not perfect yet. It's a relatively new product, but I am impressed with it so far. The video quality is far superior than anything else I've tried. And the thing that I love about this thing, since this office is completely shut at night, it is pitch black in here. And so with a lot of cameras, they do have infrared sensors. The drop cam has it, and the drop cam does a decent job, but this thing just blows it out of the water. There are like 8 or 10 little infrared diodes that light up in the dark, and you can see everything in a really, really, really crisp image. So in dark rooms or outside at night, this thing is awesome, way better than anything else. It also has a couple other options that is better than a couple of the other alternatives on the market. Namely, there is an air quality sensor, which the Withings Home has, although this has a thermometer, which is kind of handy, and it also has a humidity count as well, which can be kind of cool at sometimes. So this is a really great option. It's a little bit pricier than the other cameras on the market at $250, but it is more feature packed. The hardware is way sexier. It has this nice aluminum finish, and I like it a lot. So that's Canary. The link's in the description if you want to check that out, and you should, because it's one of the better options out on the market today. Let's take a look at the other stuff we have here before we wrap up, because we're almost done. I've got a Satechi USB 3 little hub here. I have cables coming off the back. This is where the cables come into play in my office. And but other than that, I mean, it's pretty simple. I got it off of Massdrop because these things were expensive when I bought this. I mean, USB 3 hubs were $100. Which is a lot of money. So I got this on Massdrop for like, I don't know, 70, 60 bucks. Now they're much cheaper, and you should get them for much cheaper on Amazon. The last two things before I wrap up and finish up are these two. This is a nano patch, which is a simple gain control for, it's called a passive preamp, basically is what it is. It basically controls the gain from my DAC, which I'll explain that in a second, that goes to these monitors. So rather than controlling the volume from the computer itself, there is no volume control. I control the volume on the speakers from here, I mute from here, and that's how I do it. Now this is my DAC, which is a digital to analog converter. If you don't know, basically what happens is it's like an external sound card. That's an oversimplification, but that's kind of what it is. So it goes from USB from my computer to this, and then this it undigitizes, I guess, the music from a digital signal from USB to analog. So it goes RCA out, which I can then take to these speakers, which are XLR. So this is a great little DAC. It's called the Shit Modi. That is the name. It's in the video description below, but Shit makes awesome stuff, contrary to what their name would imply. And it's a really, really great DAC. It costs $100. I have one that I bought a year or so ago. No, that's a lie. I've had it for a few years now. Don't look in this drawer. It's really messy. Don't tell anyone. Okay, this thing is called the Music Streamer 2 from a company called High Resolution Technologies, HRT. This thing is awesome, but it was about $150 2 years ago, and when I bought my Shit Modi, I was so convinced that that shit was better that that I stuck with it. So I really like it. It's a fantastic product. I've linked it as well in the description below if you want to check all of this stuff is in the video description if you want to check any of it out. But that's it for me. That's our office tour. Really pretty simple, a small room, but we make it work. And I want to give thanks to every single one of you, because you are the reason that we're able to do this as our jobs and as our hobby. And I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart to every single one of you subscribers. And even if you're not a subscriber for watching this, it really helps us out a lot. And haters, for the people who downvote our videos, we still make money off of you, so it doesn't matter either way. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, rate, comment. If you'd like to support our channel, you can check all of this stuff out amongst more at snazzyzon.com, which is our Amazon affiliate link. You go and get the same prices as you would on Amazon. We get a small kickback for sending you there. Spiel, talk. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay snazzy.